the 2,400 forms there. They want the new analyst to read them and provide evidence that they understand them. So in our lab, we have this little short quiz that we give our new analysts. So then someone will demonstrate, some official trainer will demonstrate the procedure to the new analyst, and the trainer will, question the analyst to determine if further demonstration is needed. So for example, if I'm showing someone how to do the plating and I will ask them, so how many ml should I put in this plate? If they can't answer that right away, then I will show them again. So they want the analyst to do at least 2 samples. Again, that was specifically for the drug residue testing. You'll do the positive and the negative. They want to make sure that the analyst is using the bench sheets as needed by the laboratory, as described by the laboratory, and that they do the whole procedure. So if you're plating, you don't want them just to pour the plates or do the Petri films. You want them to incubate them at the correct times, pull them out at the correct times, read them correctly. In that we would have our new analyst would read the plate, and then we'd have the trainer read the plate to make sure the numbers were comparable. So they want to have evidence of all of this. We usually don't take pictures of the plates. We just send in the bench worksheet to demonstrate that everyone did a comparable reading of them. And then you're going to have the trainer kind of look at the analyst technique. In our lab, it'd probably be me, the QA officer, to make sure that everything is looking acceptable to us, and then indicate to the analyst whether we think, okay, you've got this, or let's go over this again. Then we're going to send everything, all the documentation off to LPET. So we're going to get the bench worksheet, we're going to get the reports, we're going to get everything all together, have it signed by the trainer or the supervisor or the QA officer, in which case me, and send that off to LPET. And that documentation, then we're going to hold that documentation so that when they do come to the lab, we have it all in one spot, and we can say, here's all the documentation for Sally to do the conditional, or our conditional analyst Sally to do this plating SOP. And we're just going to hang on to that until they show up or are able to get here. And again, with the pandemic, we were actually supposed to be certified back last October. We're coming up on a year that that they've just said, yeah, no, you're good. So we're going to hold on to all of this documentation until they can come to us and take a look at it. And then we are going to obviously have the analysts keep their skills in place so that when they do the splits, they have a good technique. When LPET does get here, they're going to review everything, and if satisfactory, they're going to go ahead and grant certification before they see them, and then that's going to remain in place until they can come here and take a look. The analysts will have to pass the splits satisfactorily. If they don't, then their conditional certification will be removed. Yep. Did that clear anything up?
Yeah, sure. So this later stuff here, I think, has to do with the state central labs and certification for LEOs. So the beginning of that, I guess, would be what is extended to the analysts at laboratories around the state, training programs, et cetera, kind of stuff with SOPs, all required as part of the laboratory evaluation. Those would be necessary records, is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
For an inspection. Perfect. So, and then moving from taking what we know here kind of to what the last thing that you talked about with Dr. Graham leaving and lab accreditation possibly going to ISO, but they're only accrediting the lab, not the analyst. We would still be evaluated from a New York State LEO, correct? So nothing there would change.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Cindy, this is Christina.
Hi, Christina.
I'm just wondering if you were to write a proposal, and then we'll use this one as an example. If this were to go forward and the committee or FDA says, well, we like this piece of it, but not that, do they scrap the whole thing and you have to then resubmit? Or can
Usually, yes.
they can't
Well,
pick it apart and say, we only
what?
approve this piece?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go back here for a second. What you should do. Here's the thing. If you know that there's a part of it that's a little controversial, you can have a, so you can amend it. There are times when they'll be like, we like this part, but we don't like this part. Can you amend it? And if you've got one ready to go, you can say, yes, here it is. Here's your amendment. But they will give you 24 hours to amend it. So if they go over your proposal on Thursday and they're like, can you amend this? Again, if you're there to advocate, and they're saying that, we don't like this part, then you can stand up and say, okay, how about if I amend it? Would you accept it then? And then they'll give you time to amend it, and then they'll come back and then vote on it then.
Thanks. I got another question too, because this is really something that I really want to do. After, working with all these 2,400 forms, you see bits and pieces that you just don't make much sense.
Yeah.
What's the main reason that they will reject a proposal? Is it because there's not enough evidence for the change? And if that's the case, do they give you feedback on what they're looking for?
Sometimes that is the case. They will give you feedback if you ask. If you're there at the meeting and you ask, they will give you feedback. But there are some things that they just don't want to change, just because they don't want to change it. There are a couple proposals that I've put in that scientifically made sense, but they just didn't want to change it. So I can't think, there was like 2 of them that I put through last year just for that reason. I'm like, this doesn't really make sense. And they're like, we don't want to change it. And Dr. Graham actually said, when I retire, you can change it. I was like, well, that's not very helpful.
That sounds like him though.
Doesn't it? I was like, dude, seriously? So there are some reasons that, they are a scientifically based community, the laboratory committee is. And so they do like to move on things scientifically. So the more scientific evidence you can put behind your proposal, the more likely it is to go through. And again, there is a bit of advocating that is needed. So once you get them in, you want to talk to people you want to talk and attend the meeting is really the biggest advocate, or have someone that is going to attend to advocate for your proposal. Yeah.
So how sometimes they'll go through and then the proposal basically seems like it's been sent again and again, and not so much with the lab committee, but you'll see them in other committees where it seems like the same proposal is written over and over and over again. But then more people will jump on and be like, oh, we like what so-and-so is doing, and they all group together. I mean, does that make a difference depending on how many people are on board with that proposal?
Actually, it does. The more people you can get behind you, the more likely it is to pass. And there's a little bit of politicking involved in that. If you can, ideally, if it's a sound proposal based on sound scientific reasons, or grammatical reasons, for some of these are just crazy, but you would think it would go through. But there is a bit of politicking involved. So if your proposal, if you have evidence and you have advocated really well for it, then that's the key to getting one through. Sometimes, again, they just don't want to change it because they don't want to change it.
Well, I would agree with that. In my experience, it's always good to run these by some other state people as well and get them on board, because you don't want to be the only one up there talking.
Although I've done it before.
Well, and me too, but it always helps to have you know, here's New York again. They're spouting off about something, you know, and
I feel that comment, Jim. I feel it in my soul.
yeah, well, and I've advocated for some of your proposals, but it always helps to have other state members of the committee or council on board with your proposal, and they can, you know, it's not just a New York thing. It's you know, it's more than, it's other states as well, maybe that are looking for a change. So,
Right, and so one of the advantages for me, or if you want, and anyone can send me their proposal, is I can get it out to the lab committee and sort of advocate for it on the calls even before it gets to the conference, so that everyone kind of knows what's coming down. And you know, we've had a chance to talk about it, and I can say, well, here's the data. This is a really great idea, and sort of do some convincing on that. And
well, it's a fascinating process, and if somebody's at all interested, I would encourage them to go to a conference and, you know, sign up for a committee, and it's great. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable to me.
I agree. I agree.
How many proposals do you think you get from the lab committee that come out from industry and not from like a state?
I wouldn't have I'll tell you, there are a lot of proposals that come in. Usually it's over 300. I mean, there's just a lot of them. I don't remember how many come from industry and how come I would say it's a pretty good split down the middle, actually. I'm thinking about some of the proposals. Some of the proposals from industry are like when Charm wants to update their 2400 form, everything needs to go through a proposal. And that's just obviously, you know, if they say, well, now you can store it at 6 degrees as opposed to 4 degrees, and that's their product, and they've got the data to stand by it, those go through pretty easily because, you know, it's
I
their
was gonna say, I
quality.
don't know how you can argue with that. It's
Exactly.
theirs.
Yes, exactly. So those usually go through pretty easily, but there are some that get sticky. When there are a few that get sticky, I'm like, wait, you guys aren't behind this? I don't understand. I don't know. I don't know. Mhm.
Chris Lawrence again. So I was a little bit late on getting to the call. Did you show or say where we could obtain a form to write proposals?
Sure did. I'll go back to that, and it's going to be right. Oh, look, you guys are getting dizzy. Woo! Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, wait, hold on. I went the wrong way. Now you guys are really going to get dizzy. Right here, ncims.org. It'll have the forms. It'll have an example of a properly prepared proposal. It'll give you some really good instructions on how to fill that out. It'll all be right there on the website. It won't be there until like late November, early December, before that actually shows up, I think, but it will be there.
So the form is currently not there. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Well, there is the form for the 2021. They haven't released it yet. I don't know if they're going to make changes to the form. Typically they don't, but you never know.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
All righty. Well, thanks for coming, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Turn off my video.